the cloud. All right. So, one of the things that I've said to my students, or at least may have communicated it in one script, etc., but is that social media is alive and it is around us and it is unfolding before our very eyes and ears, especially in this day and age of Clubhouse. And it's a great opportunity to experience it as it's happening. And that's exactly what happened this week on Monday. It feels like a lifetime ago with on International Women's Day, no less, with Burger King. For those of you that just by means of introduction, I thought I've had the pleasure and the privilege of teaching two classes. One of them is within the IMC program, a course that I actually wrote, which is all about brand evolution strategy, where my students have to pick a company on death watch and save it, which is fun. And now I'm busy teaching social media strategy, and this is exactly in that regard that I'm delivering this today. So by means of background, I've written 5 books, most recently Built to Suck, The Inevitable Demise of the Corporation and How to Save It, started 3 little boutiques, Crayon, Crayon Evolution and HMS Beagle. And I'm a little bit of a provocateur, but I like to maybe use the analogy of that RFK quote, which is there are those who see things and ask why, and then there are those who see things that could be and ask why not. And so we're going to talk about what if today, as well as why not. When the pandemic hit and all events got canceled, I do a lot of public speaking, a lot of keynote speaking based on my books. Suddenly, no events were happening anymore. And so I started Corona TV about almost a year ago to the day. Today I had, I think, guest number 217. And it's just been an absolutely, I would say, life-changing, game-changing, purpose-finding mission. And it's just been incredible. And for those of you that haven't watched an episode, I would love for you to watch it and be a part of this growing community. But today we're here to talk about what happened with Burger King. I even bring up Corona TV simply because I discussed it on the show and in Clubhouse afterwards, and it's really been a fodder for a lot of dialogue. So let me go through the example. At about 4 a.m. on Monday morning on International Women's Day. And by the way, a little bit of forewarning, there may be some choice words today. They're not my words. I'm just, this is the public domain. So if you're a little squeamish or you don't like cuss words, you have been warned. So it began at about 4 a.m. in the morning, our time, about, I guess, 9 a.m. UK time, where Burger King UK tweeted, "Women belong in the kitchen." And then they threaded down, because that's what you can do in Twitter, if they want to, of course, yet only 20% of chefs are women. We're on a mission to change the gender ratio in the restaurant industry by empowering female employees with the opportunity to pursue a culinary career. We're proud to be launching a new scholarship program which will help female Burger King employees pursue their culinary dreams. The problem is that in social media and in life, we are lazy. That's why link baiting works. We look at a headline, and that alone will allow us to be outraged or forward an article to a friend on Facebook, etc. That's why the retweet is so dangerous. So just a couple of things that happened. This is an interesting one at KFC Gaming. So it's actually like a kind of a competitor of sorts, said the best time to delete this post was immediately after posting it. The second best time is now. And here's what I think was different to this kerfuffle compared to previous ones. Burger King UK actually pushed back. Why would we delete a tweet that's drawing attention to a huge lack? So that was like doubling down on dumb. And so people explained that even to them, which is, which is you're using sexism as clickbait, et cetera, et cetera. So it was at that point, you know, if there was any benefit of the doubt given to Burger King, they lost that. And then all hell basically broke loose. Now, I predicted safely, I thought, that they would eventually pull the tweet. And guess what? They did. They pulled the tweet 14 hours later. What was also interesting is they still seemed to like want to push, basically pass the buck. You know, it was brought to our attention that there were abusive comments in the thread, and we don't want to leave the space open for that. So no, that's not really what happened. The abusive comments were aimed at you guys. It wasn't that there were abusive comments, for example, towards women in the thread. And here's, you know, one person's response that said, "It will never leave," as in you may have deleted it, but the internet never forgets, Google never forgets, and nor do we. As is evidenced by this presentation that I'm giving you right now. So I'm going to ask a bunch of questions, and then, you know, I'm going to hand you know, back to you guys for your thoughts, etc. Question number one: was this intentional? Some people basically said they had to know what they were doing. They, you know, this was premeditated. Of course, it was link baiting. They knew that this was going to cause a complete uproar and backlash. Here's the second thing, and these are not necessarily my questions. These are also questions that came up in discussion. Is all press good press? The fact is, people were talking about Burger King or Burger King UK, and maybe by definition the initiative. So, you know, rather people talk about you than not at all, or not. Well, I mean, here's my answer. This was kind of blunt and to the point. I don't know that we want people talking about us if, in fact, this is the conversation. By the way, Tommy Innit is verified on Twitter. So I haven't gone and checked how many, you know, what Tommy Innit's statistics are, but probably means they're somewhat influential. Now, again, don't shoot the messenger, but this is something else that came out as well. I will not read it because it is, you know, but I mean, it just shows you, the grave that Burger King dug for itself. There's an old saying that says, when digging oneself into a hole, the best thing to do is stop digging. And here's another one, a little bit more of a lighter, a little bit lighter, been a bad 24 hours for UK royalty, no doubt. So what should they have done? I mean, in a teachable learning moment, the question is less about why did they do what they did, and more, what would you have done if you were in that position? What should they have done? At what point should they have pulled the plug? Is there way back? Is there, you know, I mean, redemption? You know, if we've learned anything in the US, it is that people have the ability to be redeemed or redeem themselves. Getting a second chance if there is contrition and if there is genuine, authentic, you know, belief or will to do better next time. Another thing that I thought was kind of interesting is this thread. And by the way, look at all these engagement, right? 10,900, you know, just under 11,000 likes, or etc. The age of the Burger King is over. The time of the Burger Queen has arrived. And here is a really interesting little mock-up. I actually changed my icon in Clubhouse for all of 2 days to Burger Queen. By the way, just think about that for a moment. The name of the brand is Burger King. Maybe they should be changing their name to Burger Queen. And they did this on International Women's Day. So here's another question for you. Why do brands still do dumb things like this? I've been commenting, reporting, writing on dumb brand moves since 2005 when I wrote my first book, Life After the 30-Second Spot. Why are they still making mistakes like this? These are flagrant fouls. They're, schoolboy or schoolgirl errors. They are such rookie mistakes. I have a theory on it, but I'm just going to ask the question. Are we seeing the end of link baiting in an era of cancel culture where trying to be controversial for controversy's sake is going to end a brand in so much hot water that they become that instant boiled frog in many respects? I once heard the statement, which I thought was very, very apropos, which is the only time that you get instant virality or instant feedback these days in the social media enabled world is when it is negative. So instead of trying to get the, swing for the fences and that quick result, the only quick results are bad results. Another interesting thread was this, which is how will this impact sales? A lot of people said this is terrible and it's a disaster, PR disaster. But I heard two things. One is I guess people are still going to eat their Whoppers, right? People are still going to buy the food, even if they are outraged. The other one was this idea of a sense of humor, which is like, do we need to actually get a better sense of humor, even if, regardless of whether we like the product or not? So who were the big winners and the big losers? Some people felt women were the big losers because this whole initiative had been overshadowed by this, whether you call it a tempest in a teapot or a big storm. Maybe the big winner was Twitter, because since a certain ex-president got banned, people aren't talking about Twitter anymore, but now they are as well. I do want to just kind of mention one other thing, which is this is the actual Instagram post. That says women belong in the kitchen, and then immediately it says yet women make up only 20% of chefs. One of the things that was said was that this really was a print ad. It was a print campaign. It didn't belong in Twitter, and maybe that was the problem, that whomever was responsible for it didn't really understand the medium, didn't really understand how they should have been using Twitter in this case, that it worked better in or on a platform like Instagram. They have not pulled this, by the way, since I last checked. And what I also thought was interesting is the post before had 216 likes, 78 comments. This one, and counting, 34,000 likes and 6,000 comments. So talk about going from a certain, line or baseline of engagement to something in the stratosphere. The other thing that I also wanted to mention is Burger King UK, if you just go a little bit below this post, you'll notice they've been on a mission. What you see on the left is 9 different posts. There are more than that, where Burger King is actually posting food from their competitors, from small and medium, small businesses, restaurants in the areas associated and around some of their stores, basically saying, we know the Whopper is your favorite, but why not try something from, in this case, Katsutopia, and show them your support. So during this age of COVID, this is a great campaign, a great initiative to say support mom and pops and small businesses and your local restaurant instead of a big chain. But again, all of that buried underneath the controversy. So, the final thing that I just, just a few additional thoughts is everything is now global in an age of social media. Even though we're discussing something that happened in the UK, this was felt, this was affected, this was, outraged by what was happening across the pond. And finally, as a little bonus for you, come to think of it, we did not see any of their competitors jumping in on the bandwagon, or maybe I should say the brand wagon. But here is something that someone had said, which is, in this case, the Wendy's social media team right now. So we didn't see anything coming from Wendy's or McDonald's or etc. piling on the pain. although, you know, maybe we should have. But I probably would not have cautioned them to do that. So those are the slides. I wanted to be as succinct as possible, and maybe just turn it over to you guys to see if you have thoughts, comments. I can go back and relook at all the questions, but I just thought it would be a good idea to just open it up for some discussion. And you know, one more thought for you, and this is again what I've said to my students. This is alive. This is breathing. This is human right now. You know, and so it's amazing to see our textbooks being written in front of our very eyes, which is not to say a textbook is not important, but it is as dated or outdated as the ink that is just dried when it goes to print. The other thing that I try and get my students to do is to go a little bit deeper, you know, and not just look at the superficial post or even comments. Look at the engagement. You know, you don't have to be a super sleuth or an investigator to be able to tell the story that I just told by just, you know, being aware of going on. And sometimes when you see someone's account, you click on that account to see who they are, where do they work, you know, how big a following do they have. For example, just the story that I was able to share in terms of looking at the Burger King Instagram account, even though we were talking about Twitter, you know, looking at the jump in engagement and seeing this initiative below that was completely buried, it just goes to show that, you know, this is the kind of curiosity that I want to see from students versus sometimes, you know, dialing in a response or mailing it in, I should say, that is kind of just reporting on the facts instead of looking between the lines. So that's what I wanted to share as succinctly as I could. For those of you that are on, anybody you want to, whether you want to comment or come off mute, any thoughts? What do you think? Do you think that they did it on purpose? Was this intentional? When should they have pulled the tweets? Was there anything wrong? You know, do you feel that they I'm just curious. What anyone want to jump in? You're not being graded on this, by the way. Thoughts? All right.
I think it's really an interesting case, and I thank you for putting it together. I guess my question, Joe, is at what point? So if they posted at 4 in the morning, that would be our time, 9 their time. At what point did it actually take off? Like, how quick was the reaction?
As far, well, in terms of my own timeline, I was made aware of it probably around about 9 a.m. or first thing in the morning. You know, I'm having my cup of coffee and I'm seeing my various social media feeds saying, "Hey, did you check the Burger King?" You know, the Burger King kerfuffle. I like that word. Now I have my show at 12, so I dedicated a big chunk of my show to it. And then also throughout the day now in Clubhouse. I mean, Clubhouse is the new water cooler. It is that. And so everyone was talking about it. And then I had a room afterwards. Every Monday, I do a Brands in Clubhouse room at 2 p.m. So we discussed it again. They were aware of it. They must have been aware of it. And, you know, if I go back and I look at the, I'm just going back to look at the, when they push back, it said at this point 3 hours ago. So in other words, it looks like almost immediately, just after posting, they were proud to be launching a new scholarship program. They were already pushing back on it, or pushing back on the criticism. So I'm pretty sure that criticism was instantaneous. instantaneous. And, I mean, it didn't take, it was so provocative. I mean, the intentional part of it was meant to be a gotcha. It was meant to be a controversial headline that got your attention. But today, in this climate, people are so sensitive, whether you believe they're oversensitive or not. You remember the customer is always, rule number one, the customer is always right. Rule number two, if the customer is wrong, see rule number one. And so I think it must have been pretty obvious sooner rather than later that the sentiment was overwhelmingly negative. And then the question is, what was it? Was it hubris? Was it pride? Was it stubbornness? Was it arrogance? Was it denial? Was it fear? I don't know.
I mean, I think that the social media accounts on the fast food companies or brands tend to be edgier anyway. I think that's what a lot of them are going for. So I wonder if they were trying to be edgy, and then when the criticism came, they kind of, I don't know, I guess doubled down on it. But it's really fascinating that to see the behavior and then thus the reaction. But do you really think it was that intentional? Do you think that they thought it was kind of a cute way of getting their point across, and it just landed so poorly that they were completely unprepared for the negative response?
I would say without a shadow of a doubt that they definitely didn't mean to be this controversial. How would they? I mean, which corporation is going to go out and try and alienate probably 50% of their base? But I think what they did was there was an acute strategic disconnect here in terms of how to use the platform, or in this case, Twitter, and the threading. This was meant to be a reveal. It was meant to be it was a bait and switch, right? They talk about link baiting. This was a link bait and switch. And it was meant to be a quick reveal, which is misdirection, the adoring crowd, roaring with appreciation. But the point that I made was that people are lazy. And I mean that, I don't mean that necessarily we're lazy. Our brains are actually lazy organs that are designed to shortcut or be able to take the path of least resistance. And it is the reason why, for better or for worse, Facebook has been so devastatingly effective, from a political standpoint. And likewise with Twitter, we're very quick to retweet. We're very quick to share, and part of the message here is the need to really go a little deeper and read the fine print before, being trigger happy. So the issue is, it's easy to do what every single crisis communication textbook says. We're sorry we offended you, immediately issue the almost sterile apology. But in this case, they didn't do it. And then the real question is, what could they have done? What should they have done? First of all, what if they'd launched this initiative in Clubhouse, which would have kind of made them cool? The irony is, I think Burger King, just a few days or weeks before, had actually done a quarterly earnings chat or conversation in Clubhouse. The same brand. What if they'd launched the initiative with some of their female chefs, or some of the women that have already benefited from the program? What an easy way to have actually launched it. It's just amazing to think of something that could have been so awesome ended up so awful. That's the one thing. And the other thing is, what does redemption look like? And maybe redemption looks like the ability to come out with that Bill of Rights. I heard the other day the difference between a company of ego versus a company of purpose, right? A company of I heard this like great thing, which is humans admit their, humans make mistakes, compassionate humans admit them. So all brands make mistakes, but compassionate brands admit them. And it's not just enough to admit the mistake, but to say, here's what we're going to do to make this better. Here's what we're going to do to make you whole again. Now, amidst everything, of course, it's a good debate because, maybe we don't have maybe we've lost our sense of humor as a culture. Maybe we have. Maybe, when you actually realize what they were trying to do, it wasn't an evil, nefarious, manipulative, Machiavellian. It was just, idea and execution. And that's what we learn in life. There can be a chasm between the two.
I love that you shared this, Joe. I mean, this is so timely and topical, and it's exactly what we do in our classes. Like you say, we try to bridge and connect. It's not just what's been written in the past, it's what's happening right now. And I love this approach and this whole pop-up. So I certainly hope that you keep us posted when you do some more of these, because it's spot on with what our curricula is.
No, I appreciate that. I was inspired to want to share this with my students and also with the faculty and the whole the whole class. I mean broadly, graduates, undergraduates, just because, as I said, there are some meta aspects here. One is the fact that this is alive. Our marketing, our social media, our world is alive, and it's happening in front of our eyes. And the other one is to be more curious and go deeper and question a little bit more and realize how much, it's easy to uncover the nuggets here when you just, if you're looking for them or if you look hard enough. That was the second thing. And, also, like I was thinking I gave an extra credit assignment to my class, which is to go and watch The Social Dilemma and come back with a point of view on it, because there was the Fire Festival documentary. There's Fake Famous, which is out on HBO. There's The Social Dilemma. There's also these documentaries, and quite frankly, these days, Black Mirror. So life imitating art, imitating life, imitating teaching, imitating life. I hope people, and the beauty of it is this is just our little live session, but now people can go back and watch it and hopefully benefit from it.
Well, thank you. I hate to run. I've got a 5 o'clock, but I think this was
great. I mean, it's just, we did it in half an hour. That was the intent. So, I'm glad that you were here as well. And I will certainly do more. All I need is more brands to be clueless, which, trust me, death,
there's
taxes,
there's another kerfuffle on the horizon. Just relax. Just wait.
Death, taxes, and brand kerfuffle. All right. Well, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye.
Take care.